Attorney Jerome Pay. Live TV talk on your digital device on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Download the SVP TV app right now. Check us out every Tuesday on Comcast Cable, Channel 17, 8:30 p.m. And we are live every Friday on Facebook Live, 6 o'clock in the evening. You've got a question? Our attorneys have the answer. So let's talk law with Attorney Daryl O'Neill on the SVP TV network.
Welcome to Talking Law with Daryl O'Neill. I'm your host. I got my main man, Jerome.
What's going on, Daryl?
Man, another day in the neighborhood.
Man, I'm excited to be here tonight, man.
This weather,
yes.
man. The last 3 days it was, man, you put on some shorts almost,
right,
man.
Right.
And then today, it's getting ready to get cold again.
It's going to get cold tonight, and tomorrow it's supposed to be cold. But that's Memphis for you.
Okay.
Remember, it's still winter time.
It is. It's February. It's still winter. All right, so we digress. I'm sorry. If you have Apple TV, Fire Stick, Roku, the SVP TV network app, you can call in and watch live.
All right.
And look, got my phone here. We're going to answer any questions you got. It don't matter what we're talking about. So if you got any one of those things, and I said that, but we also, you can see us live on Facebook Live. You can also see us live on YouTube Live.
Wow.
So I kind of digressed on those things.
No problem.
All right, Jerome, we got to give our shout outs, man.
Okay.
Give shout outs to my man out in California.
Okay.
You know, shout outs to the West Coast. Shout outs to Little Rock, Arkansas. Shout outs to West Memphis. Shout outs to Memphis, Shelby County. Shout out to my wife.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mississippi. Shout out to Missouri. And shout out to my mom, the great state of Missouri.
And don't forget your daughter, too, man.
Oh, man,
Miss Misty. Hey, Misty. I haven't seen you in a while, but shout out to you, too, as well.
Definitely shout out to Misty.
Yeah. What about my wife?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, we got to give a shout out to Jerome's wife and Jerome's kids.
Yeah,
and Jerome's
we're
family.
good,
Yeah. I guess I'm shouting out so much, huh?
And Darryl, I want to take this time personally to thank you, man, for allowing me to appear on your show. I really appreciate that, man, because otherwise I would be I wouldn't have an outlet, and I'd probably be doing some other stuff, walking around with a protest or doing some other stuff. But man, you have allowed me to appear on your show all of this time, and I appreciate that.
Man, we've been together, what, almost 6 years?
About 6 years, man.
6 years?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man.
Wow,
Yeah.
Man, the show lasts for 6 years, man. We almost syndicated.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, man.
So, but you know, that's the thing though, Jerome. Yeah. There's so much law and so many things that are happening in the legal world, man, that we can talk about different events.
Absolutely.
And spins on different events.
Absolutely.
We've been doing that for 6 years, almost 7 years now.
Absolutely. There, and I got 30 years of experience. You got 20 years. You've got 50 years of experience.
Right.
Practically begging the people to take advantage.
Call
of
us, ask a question. So, you know, we were talking about bankruptcy last week.
That's right.
And, you know, I want to dive and shift a subject just a little bit.
Okay, cool.
Because something that's going to hit everybody potentially.
Okay.
And that's the General Sessions Court.
All right. And, you know, Darren, and we say it all the time, that's probably the place where you will have your first contact with the legal system.
Yeah.
Even as far as traffic tickets are concerned, because that's also a part of General
well, they got
Sessions,
General
isn't it?
Sessions number 14. And
Right.
does, I think they do state traffic tickets.
Right.
And then, but the municipal court does the local tickets.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Yeah, so, you know, everybody watches Judge Judy, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, Judge Judy gets to joking with people and having fun, and then they get to telling their stuff and handing their paperwork. And, you know, the TV law makes you think that that's what the real law is all about.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's not what it's about.
Well, in our jurisdiction, it's not like that because we require a different type of modality. But in some places, you probably could have a more user-friendly court than ours.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think?
I think you hit it on the head. I think you're right, Jerome.
Yeah.
I think every state
Right.
is different. And this is Tennessee. The lowest court that we have in Tennessee, well, and then we do, some cities and counties have municipal courts.
That's right.
But for
That's right.
But for the most part, the lowest court in most places is General Sessions Court, unless it's one of those smaller counties, and then they don't have General Sessions Court. The smallest court would be a circuit court.
That's right.
And they would only have two courts, circuit and chancery, because they won't even have a probate. Probate is done in the chancery court.
That's exactly right.
So those are some of the smaller counties. But for the most part, most of the counties, a vast majority of the counties in Tennessee has a General Sessions Court.
Right.
So, and the thing about General Sessions Court, and let me just give you a little update on it. It's a simple court. And I'm talking about simple as far as getting in the court.
That's right.
You know, basically here, it costs $99, give or take, to file a lawsuit in General Sessions Court. Then you can get the process served by the sheriff, costs you $35, $40, whatever that is. So you can get your initial lawsuit filed for about $150,
Right.
give or take.
Right.
Now, that's the easy part.
Right. And the beautiful thing about it is the jurisdiction in that court is what now?
$25,000.
$25,000.
It caps at $25,000.
And so that's why we call it small claims court, because you don't have to get bogged down with a lot of other different things. You can just, a simple. Well, you're gonna get to it.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of you.
Yeah, well,
Let me slow my roll a little bit.
No, but I'm glad you said that, Jerome. And you're right. The jurisdictional limit, and that's what most people, and even lawyers are the one that really messed this up. Everyday lay citizens don't normally mess this up because they don't know things about jurisdiction.
Right.
But the jurisdictional limit in General Sessions Court is $25,000.
Right.
And if you don't like the ruling of a General Sessions judge, you have an automatic appeal to circuit court. And it starts all over, de novo, starts all over again.
Well, there you said an automatic appeal. You have a right to an automatic appeal.
Well, what I meant by automatic, I'm glad you said that.
Because somebody could be sitting there and lose and say, oh, it's automatic.
Yeah.
So you got to take some steps to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Jerome hit it on the head. My using of the word automatic is you get an automatic do-over.
Right.
But that do-over, like anything else, the same way you got in General Sessions, you got to take actions to take advantage of that do-over.
That's right.
And, I used to tell people, I try not to say it now, but I used to say to them, hey man, if you're in General Sessions, you practicing.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Because, there's no penalty to a mistake legally. If you make a legal, faux pas, and
you screw up.
If
you screw up.
You screw up monumentally.
That's right.
In General Sessions.
That's right.
You have a right to file an appeal.
That's right.
And go to circuit court and start all over again.
Absolutely. In fact, you can test the strength of your matter by going to General Sessions Court, and when you come back, you're ready when you get upstairs.
Yeah.
So in other words, we used to say you get another bite at the apple.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jerome, and that's one of the things that I used to. So I don't normally try my cases in General Sessions Court. And you already know that.
Right.
I don't normally try my case in General
right.
Sessions Court. And if somebody sues a client of mine in General Sessions Court,
you're coming up out of there and going.
About 90% of the time, I'm going to give a defense verdict and waive it up.
Right.
And the reason why is, in General Sessions, some of the defense firms, what they will do, or even some of the plaintiffs' firms, they will use General Sessions Court as a way to get sworn testimony. So they will get you on the stand, ask you questions, have a court reporter down there, and then they, transcribe everything you said. Now they have locked you in on sworn testimony. And my problem is, I don't want to give people 3 bites at my client.
Right.
Because if they testify in General Sessions, that's 1 bite. And if you go to circuit court, then what ends up happening is, at some point, they're going to take your client's deposition. That's 2 bites. And then the third time is your client, at some point, must testify at trial. So that's 3 bites at your client.
That makes sense there.
So a lot of times I will waive a case up, or I won't, except for FEDs.
Right.
And the reason, FEDs, forcible entry detainer warrants. and these are what we call eviction cases.
That's right.
And General Sessions Court has they have jurisdiction on forcible entry detainer warrants. I think they have concurrent with circuit court, though, right? Or is it that they have?
I think they have exclusive jurisdiction,
Okay.
and circuit can have a chance to do it too. But
when it goes up.
That's right, when it goes up. But yeah,
but you
General
can't bring
Sessions
an
is
FED
exclusive.
in chancery court.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah.
Right.
So so I didn't realize. I thought so they do have exclusive jurisdiction.
Exclusive.
Okay.
And you know, and in fact, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's an FED, it can exceed.
Now that part I didn't know. I found that out, and it was happening in the case, and I was like,
"What's going on here?"
$100,000. Yeah.
Darren, you could have called me. You should have called me.
I was
Said,
like,
Jerome, can they get more than?
Just one of my clients.
Oh, really?
I was watching it happen to somebody, and I was like, $100,000.
Yes, because they have exclusive. I mean, it's another word. I'm missing the word.
Yeah, but it's there's no cap on the FED.
On the FED, because they are the place where you bring those actions.
Like, $100,000. I was like, I wanted, and I
you wanted to say something.
I did want to say something. I watched, and I'm saying, man, the judge. I mean, somebody really, they don't know the limit of 25, and I know normally these judges will catch that and say something.
No,
but
no, it's unlimited. It's unlimited.
And so I did some research after that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make a stupid argument one day, go down there, and they asking one of my clients for $26,000. And Your Honor, the statutory cap is 25.
No, it's unlimited.
Mr. O'Neill, you may want to look at the rules.
Right, it's unlimited.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's so FED is one things that you do down in General Sessions Court. But like I said, now the problem with FEDs, Jerome, and is most people don't realize, and that's why I do try FEDs down there.
Okay.
Because most people don't realize in an FED, if you appeal, you got to put up an appeal bond.
And it's massive.
Yeah, that appeal bond is 1 year worth of rent.
That's right.
The exception to that you don't have to put an appeal bond up, is that they don't get a money judgment.
And so what happens is, I think the clerks are telling people that they can appeal. I mean, I'm sorry, maybe the clerks are not telling, but people just assume that they can go over there and file an appeal and do it on a pauper's oath, and it actually goes up there.
It does go up.
But it has no value because you didn't put the bond up, right? You didn't.
Well,
so what happens to that situation?
So what the paupers, what ends up happening is, there used to be this rule, and General Sessions, when Chancellor Joe Day Dinkins, when he was the administrator of General Sessions Court, he fixed this. It used to be what they were doing is that they were saying that you had to have a bond for any appeal from General Sessions to Circuit Court. And if you didn't have a bond, they said your appeal was not perfected, and they would dismiss your case.
Oh, okay.
What the rule really is, when you pay for the appeal, there is a bond already included in an appeal. However, or you could do it by paupers.
Okay.
However, it doesn't cover FEDs. An FED, the statute specifically has you got to pay an additional bond.
Okay.
And that is you have to pay that additional bond to maintain possession.
Okay.
It's not to maintain your appeal. Your appeal was perfected when you paid your bond and you appealed it. That appeal got perfected, but it didn't perfect your ability to stay. What it did was perfect the fact that you get to argue about the money damages. You understand?
I know exactly what you're saying, but I don't see plaintiffs' landlords moving for a writ because the appeal has been filed. We know that ultimately it's going to fail because they didn't comply with the requirements, but will General Sessions issue a writ when something is on appeal?
Nah, that's not how that works.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is two ways of doing it. If you issue the writ and there was money damages, right?
Right.
And you didn't put the bond, circuit court still maintains jurisdiction over the case. It does not have jurisdiction over the eviction. So basically what they will do is they will remand that eviction, they will issue an order remanding that eviction back to General Sessions for a writ to issue immediately.
But how long does it take for it to go up and then they send it back down? So you're still talking about 2 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, right?
It's probably 2 months.
Okay, so I'm saying, so in other words, the person is still able to stay even though
at least a couple of months.
That's what I'm saying.
And the reason why is when you file that writ, right? I'm sorry, when they file that appeal,
Right.
the only reason the court even get to look at that, you have to file a motion to dismiss.
Right.
And a motion to dismiss has to sit on the docket for 30 days.
Oh.
So that's why you have about 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it has
That's
to sit
why.
on the docket for about 30 days.
Okay.
Then you got to get a court date.
Right.
And then once you get a court date, the court, they rule on that fast.
Right. But ultimately, that person has picked up an additional 2
2
months.
months, 3 months.
But also, the landlord has been damaged even more
Financially.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that financial argument still stays up there.
I got you.
Yeah. The court still maintains jurisdiction over the financial aspect of
I got you. Okay.
And that's kind of how that order issues. I mean, it says that I'm gonna remand for a writ to be issued immediately.
Okay.
And then the court will set a hearing on the money damage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that works. I mean, so here's some of the landmines, Jerome. Do you know if you have $1 million case, a multi-million-dollar case,
I know exactly where you're going.
and you file in General Sessions?
I know exactly where you're going.
Do you know what the max judgment you can get?
It's going to be $25,000 because that's the jurisdiction that you chose to go in there. However, you can always do a voluntary non-suit when you figure out that I can't get more than $25,000 and then refile in circuit, right?
Well,
to preserve your statute of limitations.
And that's the question.
That's why you would file that,
you filed it in General Sessions.
Right.
But here's the thing. And that's why you have to make sure that sometimes defense firms really do smart, and then sometimes they hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If a person files a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, medical malpractice lawsuit in General Sessions Court, a lot of times what the defense firm will do is they will file motions to dismiss because they didn't comply with all the rules.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you may or may not have complied with the rules. Mm-hmm. But all you have to do, if you did comply with the rules, and then you only did that to preserve your statute,
right,
and you voluntarily non-suited, then you get to go upstairs, and they could have ended that case by just paying $25,000.
Oh, so in other words, they could have settled.
They could not settle.
Yeah.
Not settle. They say, Your Honor, we're offering when the trial date comes up, Your Honor, we're offering we issue
the maximum amount, the jurisdictional amount.
Yeah,
that's what we're offering.
We're offering a judgment for the maximum jurisdictional amount.
And if you turn it down,
it's a judgment.
Wait a minute.
The defense is giving you a judgment for $25,000.
Well, I'm trying to see how you get around that. Go ahead, keep talking.
Oh well, I guess you could get around it by, obviously you can get around it by appealing it, and then if you appeal it, then you have to, when you appeal a General Sessions matter and you want to addendum is what it's called.
That's right.
And that's what we call the prayer for relief. If you want to increase the amount of money you want, all you have to do is file an amended complaint and then change your addendum.
And in circuit.
In circuit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But most people don't know that, and they just appeal it up to General Circuit Court, and they won't even redo a complaint.
So they're still stuck.
They'll go up with that basic warrant.
Yeah.
And that basic warrant is just.
Well, no lawyer would do that.
Yes, they have.
Oh,
they
really?
do it all the time. I mean,
oh my goodness.
And in fact, there's been times I filed what I call a motion to require the plaintiff to file a complaint.
Okay.
For
a more definite statement, because we don't really know what it is that they're complaining about. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And some judges will say no. The General Session warrant is
because it says. I mean, even all the rules say anyway.
Notice.
A plain, simple statement of the aggrieved matter. Right. Yeah. That's it. Right.
Yeah. I was walking down the street, Jerome ran into me and hurt me,
Right.
and as a result of it, I was injured,
Right.
and I lost money.
Right.
I mean, you know,
And damaged my vehicle, which
Yeah.
I determined to be the value is X, Y, and Z.
A lawsuit, you know, initiating or starting a lawsuit is a really simple proposition. You know, the hardest part is when you got it's something that's extensive.
And you know what? And we tell people that all the time because a lot of times people will say, I don't care what it costs, I'm gonna get my whatever it is. But then when we tell them how much it actually costs, they change their tune quick, fast, and they hurry, don't they, Daryl?
Yeah. I mean, I can't count, you know, and I guess and here's how many times I heard it. If I had a penny for every time somebody told me that it's the principle.
It's the principle.
It's the principle. Man, I would probably
Principle don't pay no bills.
I'll probably have, you know, $300-400 million, because I hear that every other kind.
I know.
Every other conversation I'm hearing that, you know, and it's just no.
Right.
And I always stop them when they say, you know, well, Mr. O'Neal, I'm just doing this with a principle, you know, and that is, I said, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I said, when you say principle, what do you mean by that?
Right.
And then they'll say, well, you know, so this won't never happen to anybody else. I say, like who? You know, anybody, you know, that work and that is. I said, let me ask you a question. How many of those people at work are helping you with your bills?
Right.
You know, well, nobody. How many of those people are going to pay your utilities? Well, nobody. How many of these people are going to pay your, you know, put some food in your house? Well, nobody. So then why are you doing this for everybody else?
Right. Right.
Well, you know, I just don't want this to happen to anybody else. I said, okay, I'll tell you what. I'm cool with principle, but principle is expensive. And they were like, well, you know, what do you mean expensive? And I throw that number out there and they're like, ooh, you can't do this on a contingency.
Right.
Well, what happened to the principle?
That's exactly right.
You know,
Yeah, right.
there's
right.
no contingent on
Right.
principle.
Right.
Because, I mean, on a principle, that means I'm not going to recover because you don't care if we recover.
That's right.
So
why should I have more concern about your case than you do?
yeah.
You're going to make me be responsible for your principal case?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, and that's, you know, Jerome, and that's the problem. I mean, and a lot of times I'll send somebody to the General Sessions Court.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll tell them, I said, look, you know, you just go down to the General Sessions Court and file this
Yeah,
yourself.
that's true,
You know,
yeah.
it's inexpensive. You know, it's just filling, you know, they'll help you. They'll walk you through filling out the form. down
Right.
there. They got a little cheat sheet that you can actually walk through and fill it in.
That's exactly right.
I said, because, you know, if it's all about principle, then you just want your day in court.
Right.
You know, now, it may not turn out the way you think.
It's probably not. Let's move immediately because I know we're running out of time a little bit there. The collection part,
Yeah.
right? That's the lawsuit part.
Right.
But more than likely, they're there because they've been sued.
Yeah.
A credit card or some other automobile accident, and you go in as a defendant.
Right. Yeah, Jerome, and here's where that goes awry. You have rights.
Yes.
Everybody has rights. And, you know, here's one of the things I always tell people. Look, if you get sued, do not dodge the service. Accept the service.
Well, you know, we have this thing in our community that no news is good news. And so I don't want, look, in The Wizard of Oz, even Evelina said, no bad news, no bad news. I don't want no bad news. But people, if you don't stay on top of your game, you're going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, you should always accept service.
That's right.
Because what happens is the service of the lawsuit gives you the date that it's going to be in court. And you can show up, you know, and because if you got served, if they say that they served you or you have an evading service or they left it with somebody that's 18 years old at your house, you got served.
You've been served, right.
And if they do that to you, then what ends up happening here, and this is where the nightmare gets, they're going to go down and get a judgment against
That's exactly right.
And so now you're going to have a judgment on your record. And then, you know, it's almost disgusting when I go into court. The defendant's down, I mean, the plaintiff is down there renewing a judgment for 10 years. So they've been collecting from you for 10 years, right? And this judgment that was $2,000, you done paid $15,000 on a $2,000 judgment.
Well, they've been attempting to collect for 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and if they don't get a chance to collect, they can ask for a renewal of 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. And that's one of the things too that's so upsetting too, Daryl, about how our system is running. Why on earth should a person be saddled with a debt for 20 years for a $2,000 credit card?
Well, a lot of that becomes...
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but the big... And I agree with you, Jerome, but here's the problem. And then, because whenever they finally, 10 years and they down to renewing the judgment, and it's been 10 years, then what they'll say something, they'll get to the court and say, Your Honor, I don't even know what this debt is about. And the judge said, hey, it's too late on that.
10 years ago?
Yeah, the judge is like, man, they got a judgment 10 years ago.
Yes.
That ship is sailed. Once they get a judgment, whether you decide to be in court or not, it's over.
Well, but the real problem is that there's nobody speaking on your behalf.
They're not.
Because the person who is, in fact, the other side doesn't even have to have a client. They can do it by affidavit.
And that's what
they call it sworn account.
Yeah, and that's what they do a lot of times.
Just a sworn account, Your Honor. They tear the paper off and show it to the judge that it's been notarized, and bam, 10,000, 20,000.
And the thing about it is, if you show up in court, you can dispute
That's
that.
exactly right.
Because the dispute to a sworn affidavit is sworn testimony that says, that ain't me.
Or sworn denial.
Sworn denial.
Yeah.
But that's, and you can do a sworn denial verbally.
That's right.
Your Honor, I raise my hand, tell the truth and all that. That ain't me.
Right.
I don't know anything about that.
And where's the original? Show me my signature on this paperwork.
And normally they can't do all
That's
that.
exactly right.
90% of the times, those collectors cannot cross all the T's.
That is exactly right.
Now, every now and then, they'll have, the connectors. But about 90% of the time, they don't have the connectors.
I think I saw recently they relaxed that even more now, there, didn't they?
Well, it used to be the business record.
Yeah.
You could argue that, Your Honor, chain of custody, business record. I mean, you could object to those different things, hearsay and all this other stuff. The debt collector, the credit collecting companies, they got people up in the legislators that's on their side because they got the law changed and said that they could do that.
Yes.
They can bring it over like that, and that's what they end up doing. So that's, again, when a judge says to you, and we can end with this one, Jerome, 'cause I want this one to be loud.
Okay.
When a judge say, sir, do you agree with that debt? And everybody, it is like you said, it's a domino effect. Yeah. Everybody starts saying yes, and everybody gets up after that says yes.
Yeah.
If you don't know, if you're unsure, you can say, I don't agree with the debt, and get a trial date.
That's right.
And make them give you the information.
That's exactly right.
And then you can be certain whether or not you agree with the debt.
That is exactly right. Don't forget about the election there.
Oh.
Yeah. It's currently being up for the general
session.
There is
an election for General Sessions. That's why we were talking about it. There is election for General Sessions Court. So if you can, register and go vote.
Not if you can. You must start to use the vote. The vote is how we change things, people.
Yes, yes. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching the show. We'll see you back next week.